Step 6, product presentation. Product presentation is about two things: showing the customer your product and building a dream of them having this project or this solving their problems. There's a few things we must accomplish in product presentation. We must price condition. We must use something to show them how much a project done this way should cost, which your cost should always be lower than what that is. What that does is it builds the price in the customer's mind. We call that price conditioning. If the customer feels like it's going to be twice what the actual price is, as you give them your price, it takes away what we call sticker shock. One of the ways to do this is by telling them what a project like this should cost, national average. What is the national average for a product or for this type of project? You can find that in most magazines, such as Remodeling Magazine, Cost versus Value. Whatever your home improvement project is, it has a list of all of that in that magazine, so you can show them what the national average is. This starts to condition their mind on what the price is going to be. After we've conditioned their mind on what it's going to be, we want to show them how our project is going to be better than the national average, how we're going to do more than what the national average project was, so that the customer can look at the national average and say, wow, this is going to be twice what the national average is. So when we come in with our price, they're pleasantly surprised. Now, what else do we need to accomplish? Well, we need to make them want our project. They want our product. Make them start to think, I need this, I have to have this, and I need it now. How can you do that? Well, we put together a system that we call selling to the senses. For you to understand what I mean by selling to the senses, you gotta kind of understand the story in which I developed selling to the senses in the sales process. It goes all the way back to many years ago when I was in college. And there was this girl. And when I started college, she was one of the most beautiful girls on campus. And I was walking across campus one day and I was telling one of my teammates, hey, I'd really like to meet that girl. I would like for her to be my girlfriend. He was like, man, there's no way. I said, before my 4 years is up, I'm gonna get her to be my girlfriend. He's like, yeah, right, okay. Well, what ended up happening was 1 year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years went by. I'm into my 4th year and I still haven't got up the courage to even say anything to her. My last quarter, we're going to sign up for our last classes, me and my teammate. And he says, hey man, you only got a couple months left. There she is, this is your last chance. So she happened to be going the same place that I was going, which was to sign up for my classes. We go to the office, administrative office to sign up, and I get right behind her in line. And I'm standing in line, my teammate's standing next to me, and he's like, say something to her. I couldn't get up enough guts to say anything. So just when I thought I had enough guts to say something to her, she was at the office signing up for her class. And the person that was behind the counter asked her what class she was going to sign up for. And she said, Psychology 301. I'm standing behind her and I'm like, I'm going to say something before she walks off. So she started to walk off and I'm standing there and the lady behind the counter said, what class would you like to sign up for? Well, she's walking off and I know this is my last chance. And so it just came out. I said, Psychology 301. All I needed was 8 credits. I could have took anything. I could have took basketball or swimming. Psychology 301? I ended up taking this class. I hated the class. It was at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to go to the class. But I said, okay, I'm in the class. I gotta at least talk to the girl. Well, halfway through the quarter, I found out she hated basketball, she hated athletes, and I had no chance. So now I'm stuck in the class. I'm doing horrible in the class. And my professor calls me into his office one day and he says, Mr. Webb, I'm looking at your transcript. You're a pretty decent student. but you're doing horrible in my class. And I look at your transcript, you didn't need to take this class. Why did you take this class? Well, I told him the story about the girl. His response to me was, well, you know this class helps you get girls, don't you? I'm like, oh, come on. He's trying to feed me some of this psychology stuff to try to get me to be interested in the class. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, right. Well, you got to picture this. This particular professor was about 5'6". He was like had hair on the sides, kind of balding in the top, had some little wire rim glasses, and he didn't seem like a ladies' man. Let's put it that way. Well, I'm sitting in his office. I promise this is exactly the way it went down. I'm sitting in his office, somebody knocks at the door. The door opens, and the professor that all the guys on campus was like, I want to be with that professor. She's about 6 foot tall, blonde, walks in with her high heels on, and comes in and walks over and kisses him on the lips and says, how long are you going to be, honey? I sat there like this. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't wait till she left. And I said, hey, tell me some more about this psychology stuff. I couldn't believe it. He could get someone like that. There had to be something to this. So after she left, I said, well, tell me, what is it? He said, you haven't been listening in class. I said, I must have missed that day. He says, no, let me explain. I said, okay. He says, we're talking about the 5 involuntary senses. If you can stimulate all 5 senses, you can actually manipulate or change a person's decision making. I'm like, okay, what's that got to do with the girls? He says, let me explain. He says, if you stimulate a female's or a person, period, all 5 senses, their involuntary senses makes the decision for you. For example, think about this. You're walking through the mall. You just got finished eating. You went to a restaurant, had a steak, a salad, everything. You said, I couldn't eat another bite. You walk into the mall. When you walk into the mall, you smell those cookies. You're like, ooh, the cookies smell good. But you're hungry. You're not hungry. You just ate. Then you walk by, you look, and those cookies look really good. They just came out the oven. They smell good. They look good. And then the lady behind the counter said, hey, you want a sample? You reach over, you grab a sample, and now it feels good, and you taste it, and it tastes good. Now it smells good, it looks good, it feels good, it tastes good. All of your senses have been stimulated. You eat that, and then she tells you, now we've got 3 for $1, they're on sale. So now it even sounds good. All 5 senses have been stimulated. What do? You're full, you can't eat anymore, right? Next thing you do, well, I'll buy some for later. Give me 3. So now you bought them. How many times do those cookies make it back to the car? Never. All 5 senses stimulated. You didn't need the cookies, didn't want the cookies, but you end up buying them. Involuntary senses took over. Same thing. Made sense to me. So I'm like, well, how can we in sales, whether we're selling home improvement, insurance, or selling houses, how can we stimulate the senses to make a customer feel like they need this, they want this, and everything you're saying is true? What we want to do by stimulating the senses is back up what we say. Because in our system, we're trying to eliminate that the customer don't believe you, don't trust you, or have any questions. What you're saying is true. So we're going to sell to the senses by showing the customer, by trying to stimulate those senses. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring up a volunteer, and we're going to get them to we'll take a product, any product, and try to use that product to make sure we stimulate as many senses as possible. In the sales process, you should be able to stimulate, hopefully, 4 senses. If you can stimulate at least 4 senses, your chances of that customer telling you yes goes way up, and your percentages go way up. So let's take a look at how we can possibly stimulate the senses, even maybe using something as simple as a piece of cloth. Now, we need a volunteer again. I'll bring my volunteer back up. Could you grab that piece of cloth that's sitting there and come on up? All right. Okay. Now, what we want to do is talk about selling to the senses. This is just a simple piece of cloth. If you were trying to sell me this piece of cloth, and the selling points of this cloth is how durable it is, and let's just say we just wanted to get across how durable it is, okay? So what 5 senses, or 4, or 3, or 2, or whatever, however many involuntary senses there are, which is 5 of them, how many of those can we stimulate? Okay, let me explain, okay? Let's take, for example, I'm gonna take this cloth and I'm gonna put it right here, okay? Let's take, show you what I mean by them being involuntary. If I was to say, grab my hand, and I was to say, now, I want you to stop feeling this. I'm grabbing your hand. Can you feel my hand?
Yes.
Okay, well, stop. Do you still feel it?
I still feel it.
Okay, you can't stop it, right? Well, that means it's involuntary. If I was to tell you, I said, okay, what I want you to do is I'm gonna tell you something, and I want you to not hear me. Okay, I don't want you to hear the word, but you can't put your hands in your ears. If I say something, can you just stop hearing what I say? You can't stop it. So what we want to do is stimulate those senses that you can't control. All right, for example, if we're going to use a cloth and I want to talk about how durable it is, and I'm telling you, hey, this cloth is so durable, you can't even tear it. I mean, it can take up to 50 pounds of pressure. Well, I want to tell you, I can tell you that. It takes up to 50 pounds of pressure. Well, if I tell you that, you still have some doubt in your mind. But if I say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Take this cloth, and I want you to put your hands right here and right there. Now I want you to try to tear it. Rip it as hard as you can. Pull it. You put everything you have into it. You can't rip it. So what that does is now there's no doubt in your mind that it's strong. You could feel it for yourself. You didn't have to listen to the words of a salesman. A salesman's always suspect. In a customer's mind, most people think a salesman will say anything to get a sale. What we have to get the customer to do is to see it and to believe it for themselves, not what the salesman says. If they can feel it for themselves, there's no doubt that it's durable. So now you can actually feel it when you try to pull it, right? Now, I need to stimulate another sense, okay? Another sense that I might be able to stimulate to make you think it's durable is the sense of sound. Listen to this. Right. If you can make that sound, go ahead and make that sound. Now, as you start to make that sound, the customer can, not only do you feel it, but you can now hear it. So now that's one way. Another thing that we can do now with this customer and this, you grab part of it, get you a lunch, and I grab part of it. Now I say, okay, now you pull on it. Now just pull it on it. And if you pull and I pull, you can now see. You see it, and you can feel how durable it is. So now we've stimulated the sense of sight, the sense of sound, and the sense of feel. So we got 3 of them there. Okay. Now people say, well, if you're selling home improvement, how are you going to stimulate the sense of smell? Well, very, very simple. Depending on your product, there's certain things you can do to stimulate the sense of smell, such as use additional things to clean your product, to use different things, that type of thing. But the biggest one is you. One of the most important things is when you go to any customer, whether you're in a store, a house, or an office, is how do you smell? This is something people don't talk about. If you smoke, it's huge that you have body spray, always a mint in your mouth, always those kind of things to make sure that there's a pleasant smell. Because at this point, what am I going to do? I'm getting close to you. I get within your personal space. If there's a pleasant smell, it makes the entire situation pleasant. So a big part of that selling to the senses is preparation before you even go to the sales deal, making sure you smell that way. So if you smell pleasant, not too much cologne, and not smelling like you just put it all over, but to smell nice, pleasant. That's why you need scents that are like springtime, like the great outdoors, really nice, pleasant smells that's not overbearing. You need those kind of things. So now you stimulate that as soon as you start this process. And then they can smell it, they can see it, they can hear it, and they can feel it. The only one we're missing is taste. It's the only one we're missing. If you get 4 out of 5, you're probably going to get the sale. I always tell people, if you do all of these things, great. The sense of taste come in because you make them want it so bad they can taste it. That's how you sell to the senses. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this and I want you to stimulate as many senses as you can possibly stimulate. Here you go. First one is I want you to pull it and just show me. Show me what you got, okay? You show me everything you got and you can't rip it. Well, what that means is now, is there any doubt in your mind that that's durable? There's no doubt in your mind because you don't have to listen to me. You can feel it for yourself. Okay? Another thing is, what I want you to do now is to make that sound so you can hear it. All right? Make that sound that the customer will be able to hear it. Now they can hear how durable it is. Now what we want to do is we want them to be able to see it. So now if you'll grab that and I grab this, and if you pull that, pull on it. Show me something. If that's just all, you can see it now. As you see, you can see how durable it is. So now you can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it. That's major. There's no doubt in that customer's mind, and they don't have to believe you, the salesman. They can believe it for themselves.